It's a pleasure to be with you today, everybody. I'm delighted to have this opportunity and very pleased to hear about the growing interest in its BIM and open BIM in particular in Turkey. As you know, we have a very important conference, a buildingSMART conference in London next week, so I'm sorry not to be with you in person. What I'd like to do today is, I think, reinforce some of the reasons for standards, the importance of them, and to give you, I believe, an introduction to what we're doing and how we operate in buildingSMART as a collective. So next slide, please. When thinking about why we are when I ask people to think about why they should get involved with buildingSMART and what is important, I think there are sort of three elements to that question. One is, why do we need open universal standards? The next question is, what is buildingSMART's role in that, and why are we important, and why you should get involved individually and personally in helping take this forward. So next slide, please. Addressing this question of perhaps why are we getting involved in this area at all? I think it is perhaps well known now, well recognized that digitization has transformed many industries around the world. Construction is probably one of the least impacted industries at the moment, but I think we can all be sure that the digital world is going to impact construction and built assets very significantly. So, and I think that's not just, it's not something the industry necessarily can resist. Technology is developing all the time. Our customers and clients are continuously expecting and looking for better value, better performance, better assets in their portfolios. And the other thing that came across very powerfully this year, I think a clear message from the World Economic Forum, was that the opportunity in the what I call built asset industry is probably one of the biggest opportunities worldwide, and they see it as highly likely to happen. So my sort of crude message to everybody is, you're best to lead in this, get involved and to lead in this digital challenge and transformation that I think is coming to the industry. Next slide, please. Underlying why is it coming? I think because it is shown that there are benefits to be had in both terms of saving time and money in design, in construction, and in operations. Operations are probably usually overlooked to some extent, but over time represent the most important area for opportunity. With better standards, we can make better and more informed decisions and ultimately deliver better performance for our customers. And that, for example, that might mean higher utilizations of hospital operating theatres, higher throughputs on roads. I mean, we aren't just talking here about the construction phase of physical assets. Next slide, please. And then talking a little bit now about what are the actual fundamental sort of requirements here for this digital world to operate properly. We need open, machine-readable data if we are to truly get the benefits that are envisaged and I believe available. It's only with open, shareable, machine-readable data that we can fully exchange the information that's needed for different purposes. In order to have good data, for that data to be meaningful, people have to be able to rely on it and trust it, understand its provenance, and to know what it was meant to be describing and how accurate it is. And for that, you have to have standards. We are at the beginning of a new revolution, like the Industrial Revolution, where everybody now is familiar with standards for metal strengths or sort of other physical standards we've had around for many, many years. But we need the same set of standards in this data world now if we're to get the sort of value and stop the waste that we may otherwise experience. The other thing is that we need open standards if we are to live with legacy data, which of course is a natural part of life and inevitable. So on to the next slide, and this is perhaps a diagram. Next slide, please. Hello, could I have the next slide, please? Do you still hear me? I think we're frozen. Hello? I'm not sure it's working. Hello? Can you hear me?
Mr. Petrie, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but the screen seems to be stuck, is it?
You can see the screen, isn't it?
Yes, but okay, could you have the next slide?
We are already on the next slide. But
which slide? Okay, I don't see, it doesn't move
kaybettik
on.
Galiba. Kaçıncıdayız şu anda? Please wait a second. Maybe we can arrange it.
Okay, I'm on slide number 6 now. Should be opportunity at the top.
Can you see the slide now?
No, it's not refreshed.
No?
Which slide number are you on?
It is 6.
Okay, so this is a diagram of the World Economic Forum analysis. On the left-hand scale, you have the likelihood of change, and on the bottom, the impact of change. And in the top right-hand corner, you'll see the term integrated BIM, and that is, I suppose, demonstrates the importance that the World Economic Forum attached to this subject. So if we go to slide 7, please. I'd like now to move to introduction to buildingSMART, and now then slide 8. So buildingSMART was founded in 1995. It has been a voluntary organisation entirely voluntary organisation up until 4 years ago when I was hired as the first chief executive. We have the organisation's background is that it started work pretty much entirely focused on the building sector, but are now very much facing strong demand from the infrastructure sector. And so we are expanding our products to address that sector. And we're also very clear that we address the whole asset life cycle, so the operational phases as well. And our objective here is to allow people to work intelligently, interoperably, and to get the most out of sharing information. Could I have slide 9, please? So in simple terms, buildingSMART's vision is to enable the full benefits from digital ways of working for the built asset industry. Hopefully a simple message, but I underline the word full, which is then makes it therefore very ambitious. Next slide, please. Our working goals are to develop open BIM solutions. From those open BIM solutions, develop open standards to support the adoption of those standards by vendors, software vendors, to create mechanisms for the necessary compliance checking, not only of software vendors, but also of users, and to promote the use and to assist users in taking up open BIM workflow approaches. Could I have then slide 11, please? Again, our values, probably all organizations have values, but because of the particular nature of buildingSMART and our work programs, these are particularly important to us. My role is to create an environment of trust internationally where people feel confident that they can contribute their work in kind in the sure and certain knowledge that they will be able to benefit from the outputs of that. And therefore it's important that we're open and that we're neutral, we're non-profit and clearly international. Could I have slide 12, please? So little bit of our history, established in 1995, and these IFC is one of our products, BSDD is another service we offer, and we're now developing infrastructure, and the BCF is an exchange collaboration format. You can see also referenced in that list is the work we've done to take these standards to ISO in 2001 and 2013, and that is intended to be an ongoing process. I'm very pleased to see at the moment that CEN, the European standards body, is adopting these standards and launching further work programs to extend them. Could I have slide 13, please? So just to explain a little bit our role in this network of industry and standards creation, we're very much focused at the heart on creating international industry standards. And so our work groups are intended to bring together people from all over the world to agree the best way to do the complicated workflow things that have to be done. The importance of that is that the world now is increasingly a global marketplace, a global place, and a lot of the vendors will only pay attention to the implementation of these standards when there is sufficient market to support them. So it is no longer, I think, plausible to imagine that each different national industry would have its own way of doing things digitally. And therefore, it's important that there is some international harmonization and standardization process. Having formed and done the work to agree a lot of these industry standards, we would then take these forward to the appropriate ISO and CEN groups, and they would then flow down international bodies when they're ready to be enforced. Could I have slide 14, please? So we have formal partnerships with ISO and CEN, liaison status with our relevant committees. We also have agreements with a growing number of separate industry standards bodies. OGC are the body who do the geospatial standards, and we have an MOU with them. And ETIM are the electrotechnical body in Europe who have done a lot of standards for electrotechnical devices. And they are seeking to load their information into our data dictionary, which I'll speak about in a moment. But I expect we'll see a growing number of these partnerships with other standards bodies. Slide 15, please. So we work through, I'm formally the leader of buildingSMART International, which is the leading body of all our national chapters. We have at the moment 18 chapters representing, I think, 24 different countries at the moment. And that is, I do receive continuous interest from countries, I think I would say on all continents to join in the network. And there's definitely a bottom-up interest in this movement, which I think is exactly what I would expect. Our national organizations are responsible for the direct engagement with users in their particular countries and for perhaps the liaison with governments and government policy as well. And we provide a sort of coordinating role and clearly are seeking to grow the level of support that we're able to give chapters as we go forward. Could we have slide 16, please? We are a membership organization. Our central overheads are supported by our membership income, and the project work is supported by work in kind or sponsorship of particular projects. So our membership here has only been open for 3 years, and if you like, I think we've got a very strong and growing cadre here of members. And the 3 levels of membership: strategic members, who are corporates, worldwide corporates who wish to shape and lead this agenda, international members who are seeking to be present and active in a number of countries worldwide, and standards members who are really focused on the work in our international programs and probably their home nation chapter. Could I have slide 17, please? Our sponsors, each of our different work programs is supported by different sets of sponsors, and this is a recognition of the work and support that we get, both financially and work in kind. Now, slide 18, I'd now like to move on to focus a little bit on our activities. In slide 19, then, I would like to, I suppose, just to emphasize for everybody in the audience that our focus here is on finding ways to digitize workflows. That means really taking the requirements of a traditional project team, finding out, sort of codifying what it is that they need to exchange, having process descriptions for that, which can be understood by or translated into machine readable methodologies. That would then placed into a data structure to allow the extraction of different sets of information for different purposes. And this is the sort of basic work cycle. If we go to slide 20, please, you can see how our sort of when we do this electronically, we are sort of toolkit of the 5 basic products that we have enable these this sort of important work cycle. We are doing, I suppose, have planned, of course, to do a lot more work here to expand our product set in a way that we can deliver more specific products for particular exchanges. And those products would, probably require the expansion of any one of these individual or combination of these sets of basic BIM apps that I've described in this chart here. Slide 21, please. We work through 3 core programs: a user program, standards program, and compliance program. The user program is made up and delivered through our chapters. The standards program is the work that's run under a central standards process. I'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. And the compliance program is the testing and verification activities, which are, I say, relatively early, new activity for us and still growing. Slide 22, please. So the user program, as I think I've mentioned, is delivered through our national chapters. One of the key things that we do is liaise with and aim to support national programs or client programs. And this set of logos illustrates some of the formally established as a national BIM programs, and also the EU BIM task group, which is a client grouping to help set the agenda in a common way across Europe. Slide 23, please. So we have a very important that our standards process is documented with clear gateways and a rigorous methodology, so that people joining it have a transparent understanding of how they're expected to work and of how decisions are made. If we are to achieve consensus, that's one of the key things, is that there's structured communication as we go through this process. We have a series of technical rooms on the left in red, which are our perhaps traditional and core skill groups. Increasingly, we have a number of user-focused rooms in the yellow, where particular industry sectors are coming together to indicate that they need or would like to work on developing solutions for their industry in particular. Slide 24, please. So this is an image of our last standard summit, which was in Barcelona in April this year. We had 341 attendees, and I think I was very pleased with the attendance there. Slide 25. One of the things we initiated in this summit was a series of new work programs in the infrastructure area, one for a sort of common schema for the rail and road. And those, I suppose, participants are now leading the development of these work programs. Slide 26, please. I suppose I emphasize here the growing work in the infrastructure area. with road, rail, some bridge work, tunnelling, and what I've called maritime ports and harbour work. I think there's a huge opportunity here. We're benefiting greatly, I think, from the input from China, who are keen to support these international standards and have done a lot of groundwork in road, rail, and the maritime areas. Slide 27, please. The key requirement for effective digital communication is not only standards for sort of how to exchange data interoperably, but mechanisms to ensure that we all share common meaning for particular terms or objects. And there is a separate sort of set of standards for that, the International Framework for Dictionaries. We have developed an implementation for that we call the buildingSMART Data Dictionary, and that's a service we're trying to develop and operate. It would collaborate with and support a number of the national library programs which are also being initiated in certain countries, in Europe at least. We believe that this will become an increasingly important fundamental to successful interoperable working, certainly across nations and even within nations, where people must have the same understanding of the, in a digital sense, of a particular term or parameter. And then slide 28, just to give you a little bit of an update on where we are with our compliance program. We are just shortly going to be launching an individual qualification scheme. This will be an accreditation scheme where buildingSMART International will set some basic threshold levels and allow our chapters to, let's say, develop those to make them relevant and appropriate to their particular national environment, and form the basis for accreditation both of training of trainers and schemes and for the people who undergo these courses. They will be exam based, and I hope this will be a pilot for a greater range of certification schemes in the future. In software certification, we have been certifying our earlier standards for some time now, and earlier this year we launched an update to our certification scheme with a new platform to address the new IFC 4 requirements. So then slide 29 concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.